Good evening. My name is Ricky Castañeda, and I'm a board member of the Elizabeth Parents and Students Care Group. Joining me tonight is Christina Moreira, president of the Elizabeth Parents and Students Care Group.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Ricky and I will be conducting interviews with the school board candidates running for the Elizabeth Board of Education in November. We've sent invites and questionnaires to all the candidates.
And we have received a response from one candidate, Maria Lorenz. Can you please explain to our members why do you want to sit on the Elizabeth Board of Education?
I think it's very important to have an independent voice that's there, that's advocating for the families and the kids of the community. I don't think we have a very much of a diverse or independent voice on the Board of Ed. It's been like that for several years now, and I'm looking to change that. I'm looking to sit there and to be able to continue to help my community members as I've done from outside as an advocate to being inside at the Board of Education, affecting policy changes that affect our kids and actually ask the tough questions of what the trickle down impact is and the consequences or the advantages of such policies for children.
Okay, great. So one of the questions that we asked you, you mentioned teacher burnout. What do you see is burning out and overwhelming teachers in our districts today?
Definitely the lack of resources, right? There's too many jobs and not enough people to fill the jobs. So it's burning out our present teachers that are there. There are teachers that are expecting to be in the classroom and are being told that they need to leave the classroom and go do resource in another location. There are teachers that don't even know where they're going. There are teachers that have been hired at the district, told one thing that they're applying for one job, and they're being put in situations that they did not apply for. They could be a teacher that was hired to be, let's say, for example, a math teacher. And the next thing you know, they're being put in a special needs classroom and they don't know how to manage that. That is scary. That should be scary for the board members that know that this is happening. It should be scary for us parents because we need to start asking the questions of who's in the classroom with our children, are they qualified, and seeing the teacher and saying, how can I help support you? We don't always know the administrative stuff that happens in the building, but definitely the stress that is being put on our teachers in the district is an absolute ginormous amount of stress that they're going through, and they don't have an outlet. Mental health, we preach mental health is very important. We talk about how important mental health and seeking that assistance is, and I don't think that our teachers are getting enough of that. I think that they're being pressured too much into situations that they don't know how to navigate, and we end up losing a lot of good teachers here in Elizabeth to neighboring districts like Newark, and other outside districts. They'll go elsewhere because it's just too much stress, and that's not fair to them. The other thing that I believe is a contributor is the fact that many of our teachers don't even have contracts. They're still waiting on a contract, so they don't even know what the terms and conditions of their employment are because there's no negotiation or talking or anything being reported back to the public that I'm aware of. And it's frustrating if you're a union member to be working without a contract and without knowing what the terms of that is. So that's also a good contributing to the burnout and the fact that we're losing so many teachers. We're just crashing and burning through them, and we've been doing that since COVID. Now we can only blame COVID for so long.
In the questionnaire, you mentioned there's an allocation problem with a $752 million budget. Where would you allocate funds to ensure an equitable and just budget and like, yeah, like to benefit our students in the community?
I would start by looking at the school performance reports and really identifying the schools that really need the support that they so desperately um, are needing based on the reports and what's been reported back. We have students that are not able to pass a state exam in either reading or math or both. We have a graduation rate problem that we need to address. So I would start by looking at the schools that need that resource, that need extra help, and start allocating funds towards those. I would also start looking at the data that's being reported from a special ed perspective. That is our most vulnerable population. And we need to start looking at why are we rolling over millions and millions of dollars of funds and telling our parents that we don't have the money to give you services. We don't have the support to give you services. We can't give you speech. We can't give you OT. We can't give you an IEP because that's not justifiable. If we're rolling over funds, that tells me that there's a problem. That means that we're not utilizing those funds to the best of our ability. And we need to start looking at that. We need to start looking at programs. Why are our after school programs being cut so much in the years that have gone by? And we really need to look at how the money is being administered. Now, it's no secret, and everybody knows that most of the board members, they have friends of friends and they create jobs for these friends of friends. That's not a secret. It's something that happens and they do it blatantly and openly. There's a few board members that sit there that have family members that work inside of our district and they were hired before they were sworn in as board members. So instead of creating jobs and position for our friends, let's focus on our kids. Let's focus on our most vulnerable population and start looking at where the money is really going. Why don't we have more after school programs? Why don't we have programs for children to help them with their homework instead of telling them to go online and access a website? Why is it that we cannot afford, and we choose not to, get the help that they so desperately need? They need reading intervention, they need programs, and it's just not there. We present a very fancy budget in March, and no one comes out to speak against this budget. It passes, and sometimes the things that we're promised or said that we're going to be given, and it's not actually what happens.
So, piggybacking off of what you mentioned, the after school programs, that's been a concern in our parent group, hot topic for a long time through the years, especially with the cuts in the after school programming. So, these cuts have been devastating to parents, obviously, especially in our community. Do you see, and I think I can gather from your response, do you see after school programs as a priority for our community, and how would you work to restore the after school programs the way it used to be?
Do I see them as our priority? Absolutely, 1000%. I think that kids have a place to go in an after school program. They're not going home confused as to whether they're doing an academic homework. It's also an opportunity for our children to socialize. I mean, considering what happened to us during the pandemic, socialization seems to be quite a big problem nowadays. If they're
Yeah.
able to interact and socialize with like-minded peers or their peers that are similar to them, that would be great. If we can have after school programs for our special needs kids, I think that would be awesome. If we can have an inclusive program, that's even better. The way that I will go about restoring the programs is to what we used to have, is to see what else can we do. Let's have conversations. Let's have some meaningful conversations with not just the school community, meaning our teachers, our administrators, but let's also ask the parents what they think. Let's ask the parents what they need, because what's really lacking in this district is a lot of parental communication. It's parental feedback, right? If people
Yeah.
come to you and say that you have a problem or you would like to see something, you want to make sure that you're taking that feedback into consideration. And I just don't see the board members going around. Well, I don't see the last time a board member came to any of us and said, "Hey, what do you think about?" It just
Yeah.
doesn't happen. These decisions are being made in a vacuum. And in order to succeed as a community, we need to come together and work as one. And that just doesn't include decisions being made in silos.
In the questionnaire, you said that an outright ban of cell phones in schools raises questions about equity, communication, and parental rights. Please expand on what you mean when you want to advocate for a policy that is flexible yet structured.
It has to be a policy that's flexible and structured. And I say that because if my child was in a school and something happened in the school and they're not allowed to have their cell phone on them, can I say that I really trust the administration to give us a robocall and let us know what's going on? I'm going to tell you what my honest answer is. that would be a no. And I am sure that many parents on the Elizabeth Parents and Students page will agree that they've never, never really been informed, or they're informed way after the fact, after it's happened. That's not when parents need to know. We're a very technological age where information has to flow fluidly, quickly, and there's no reason why there should be an impediment to such. That's why I'm saying it has to be a balance. It can't just be all one way or all the other. My son is able to go to school. He's able to have his cell phone on him. He understands the expectations that are put on him, that cell phones are not to be used within the classroom. And if they are, then there's obviously a conversation that's happening with me as the parent. And he understands those expectations. There are moments where they can use their cell phones. If they want to use their cell phones at lunch, right? We go to work and we take a break. When we're on a break, what do? We go on our cell phones. We're scrolling, we're looking at emails, we're looking at texts and YouTube videos, and that's okay. But in a class setting, the expectation needs to be set. No cell phones in the class. And that needs to be adhered to. So it has to be a balance. It can't be all the way yes and all the way no, because there has to be a median. And I just recently saw on the page, I was looking at through the page and looking to see what the comments were. And there was a posting by a mom that said that there was an outbreak of mono. No one informed, no one said anything, and I'm looking at the comments. Did you know? No, I didn't know. And this is why this page, this Elizabeth Parents and Students Care page, is so important, because it keeps parents connected. What your kids can't tell you or don't tell you when you come home, you find out on this page.
I agree.
And it's a shame, because it shouldn't have to be that way. It should be that there's a communication from the superintendent to say, or the principal to say, hey, by the way, we've had a lice outbreak. Please make sure you're checking your child's hair. Or there's been an outbreak of Kawasaki disease. So please make sure that you're taking those protections. And you don't have to single out who brought it in or who was patient zero. That's not what we're asking for. We're asking just to be informed of what happened. And it's a shame that we can't trust the district to inform us of things. So for that also very reason, I don't trust the district to do the right thing when it comes to that. And I would advocate for a very balanced nature of using cell phones. If something happened to my child, I want to know.
I get it. So again, speaking of our parent group, in our parent group, there have been many concerns throughout the years about our uniforms becoming more and more unaffordable, especially with Kidstown at the mall now going out of business. They're about to close in a couple of days. What are your thoughts about the current uniform policy, and would you change the policy? And if so, how?
I think that would be one of the first policies I would change. I don't think a child goes to school and learns through a logo. I'm just going to be clear. I think that is just absolutely ridiculous. You can have uniforms without the logos. I think that the policy is not equitable to parents, especially parents of low income. When you go to one of these stores to buy these logoed polo shirts or other gym wear, it's expensive. It's not cheap, and the material isn't really good material, to be quite honest with you. So if I have to spend more money to get more uniforms for my kids, that's an expense to have to pay $20-$30 for a shirt. And I have to decide whether I'm going to adhere to a uniform policy, or am I going to put food on my table for my kids? That's just the reality of it. And I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason why a policy has to be created that we need a logo. The kids are not learning osmosisly through logos, okay? They go to school to learn, and that's what we're doing. We're not focused on whether you have the right logo and the right placement. What color pants do you have on? Or for crying out loud, whether your sneakers are black or white, and we have these kids using magic markers to go ahead, the Sharpies to color in the white of their sneakers. I think that is just ridiculous. How about we teach them to be disciplined, wear a uniform, doesn't need to have a logo, come to school and learn, because that's more important. I would rather take 100 children with no school uniform logos that come in this building to learn than to have somebody who's going to come in with all the logos, right? And it's not really capturing what's being taught. That's not the idea. The idea here is to teach discipline through uniform. Fine. It's a great thing, right? Parents don't have to go out and worry about what the kids are going to wear the next day. But to say that you need a logo to come to school and you need to comply, I just think it's ridiculous. And now on top of that, we have a store that goes out of business, creating a monopoly. Now you can only get these uniforms at one store. So who's really profiting here?
Yeah.
It's not the parents. And I think our board members have to come to their senses and change that policy. And they haven't done it. They've ignored it. So I would be a big advocate for change on changing the policy so that it's equitable. Maybe one parent can afford a logo. What if the other parent can't? That's not fair. Here we talk
Right.
about the 3 E's: excellence, equity, and there's one more E that I'm missing.
I don't remember.
Excellence, equity, and anyway, there's another one there, but
Yeah.
it's definitely not excellence and it's definitely not equitable. So let's talk about that.
If elected to the school board, how would you address the issues of students in our district vaping?
That is a big one. And I actually ran an Oprah report, an Oprah request, pardon me, an Oprah request, where I came to find all of the incidents of vaping. I could not believe the number of incidents that occurred in elementary school. The number is just shocking. I think that proper education, number one, of what this does to the body of these children so that they understand it's not cool. Your lungs are going to end up looking like this, like tar, right? You don't even know the damages that vaping does, and educating them, having a health person come in and educating them, having a policy that makes sense, not a policy that punishes, but a policy that seeks to educate the child.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Because right now, the way the policy is, it's a punishment. It's a punishment. It's not teaching the kid anything. You did something wrong. You're going to get suspended. You're going to have to go for a drug test. Then you come back to school. Where's the learning in that? Where is the teaching? I don't see that. And then it's like, well, you can consult with outside community help. I'm sorry, how much money do we have in our budget that we can incorporate this?
Yeah.
It's insane. You have to create a policy that makes sense, isn't punitive, but also seeks to support the parent and tell the parent, hey, these are some resources. Here are some things that we're going to do. We're going to have a meeting. We're going to have an assembly where somebody's going to come in and talk about the dangers of vaping, what it does to your body, and how it's not cool.
Right.
And I don't see that
Okay.
happening.
Okay. So where are we? Okay. So Maria, you're no newcomer to running for the Board of Education, right? You've been around for a while. So what have you been doing to garner voter support for your campaign this year?
Definitely trying to put out the word, educating the public as I always have. I'm on Facebook. I am now discovered TikTok. I was not a big fan of TikTok,
Ooh.
but here we go.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to spread the word out as much as I can. I am one person who is running for board. Yes, you can write in other individuals, but let's face it, there is a political machine that is behind these board members, and I am one person. So it takes a village to make things happen. So I'm hoping that people know me, that have worked with me, that understand what I stand for. The people that have come into contact with throughout the years, trying to publish my Facebook page, and like I said, trying to recently get on TikTok and doing some Instagram advertisement. It takes a lot of money to fund these campaigns, and everyone knows that there are no free independent thinkers welcomed on the board of
Yeah.
because that means that they're not serving an agenda. Um, And it's unfortunate because Board of Ed races are to be nonpartisan. It's not on a political party or not, but there is a lot of disinformation and misinformation that's going around, and they'll put anyone to run just to fill a seat because that person will go along to get along. And that is not what this is about. This seat is a very serious position that should be taken seriously because you are impacting lives. Everything that you do is a trickle down effect impact on someone's life. And I think that these board members need to understand that, the people that run need to understand that, and they need to understand what that means, not just for themselves and their own children, but for the broader community.
That kind of your responses kind of corresponded to like what we were gonna ask on the next question. So I guess kind of to just based on like what you responded in terms of like getting the word out, other than like posting on Facebook and social media, have you done any other types of efforts of reaching out to vote, like any canvassing, door knocking? You also mentioned like other campaigns tend to like fundraise monies. What have there been any efforts in like fundraising for, to get literature, right? Or what like yeah, basically like what efforts have you done? Um
Yep.
yeah.
All efforts that I'm doing are mine and mine alone, with the help of contributions from my family and my friends, to be able to raise as much money as I can for literature. Again, all of that costs a lot of money. So I am working towards getting more of the canvassing out and getting more of the votes out. So definitely working on some literature. So hopefully if you see me in the neighborhood near you soon, don't be shy and say hello.
Um, so I don't think we asked this question, but as the only challenger to the opposing school board slate, what do you see as a barrier to entry for challengers who emerge? So if other people want to run, what do you see as a barrier to people wanting to run for the Board of Education, being that you're the only one who's running against the incumbents?
The barrier is the stronghold. And like I said, the misinformation. You have board members that will have literature posted that they're Democrats to gain more. But like I stated before, uh, Board of Ed seats are nonpartisan. So it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you're an independent, whether you're orange or you're white, or yellow. The board seat is nonpartisan, and that's a lot of misinformation that's being put out there. Another barrier is the money and the way the money that is coming in for other opponents. I mean, you have to look at the conflicts of the board members that sit there, and once you start peeling back the layers of the onion, you really start to see where they're being funded, where this money is coming from. Some of this money is coming from special interests, right? We have about what, 14, 15 lawyers on our roster at the Board of Ed. Each one of them have contributed in one way or another to either the Board of Ed members directly themselves for their campaigns. They've contributed to either the council people's campaign or they have contributed to the mayor's campaign. So when you start following the money and you start seeing where all of this money leads and who's really backing them, you understand who really has your interest at heart. I am a person that does not take any money from special interests. I do not accept any money from special interests. Again, I'm in it for the parents and the community, not in it to get a higher position, a higher politically paid position, which people have used the Board of Ed to springboard into these types of positions. Um, and that's another barrier. Another barrier is the amount of money that's being raised and the conflicts that these board of members have. There's many board members there that sit there that either have family that work for the city or the county, have themselves worked for the city or the county. They have had family members that have worked for the city, the county, and it's a huge entrenched board of ed. You also have people that own businesses in the city. So can you imagine you're sitting on a board of ed, you're either beholden to somebody because you're either a director of a position at City Hall, or you have family members that work at City Hall, and you have a business. It impacts all of these things. They're not judging you based on your performance because you're a good person. They're judging you based on how well do you do your job to make sure that the contracts are being given. And that's exactly what it comes down to, because that's exactly what's been proven and seen time and time again. I invite anybody who is out there to go to elec.gov and pull an election report and tell me that one of those board members isn't being funded by a special interest, or if the people that are donated are being given contracts at the Board of Ed to also, you know, fund their campaigns. I have, well, right now, openly, we can talk about Frank Cuesta. He's a councilman. Frank Cuesta is a councilman. He's a jack of all trades. He's had about 5 different positions at the Board of Ed all of these years. What is a councilman doing also working at the Board of Ed? But then we start peeling the onion a little bit faster, and we start to see that he was, indeed, there were 3 board members that were giving an ethics violation, right? We had Maria Carrillo, who was given an ethics violation. Stan Neron walked away with an ethics violation, and Danina walked away with an ethics violation, and Jose Rodriguez was reprimanded. What did all 3 have in common? Well, Stan Neron worked for the city. Maria Carvalho worked for the city. Danina worked for the city as a fireman, right? And they vote, Frank Cuesta votes on their salaries. So guess whose salary they voted back in return for? Frank Cuesta's to be a part of the Board of Ed. If that isn't a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. And by the way, the requirement to be a board member is a high school diploma. Now, some of these board members are college educated, some of them are not. I would have to say that a point of ethics is common sense. And if you don't have the common sense to understand that there was a conflict of interest ever in your life when that vote was taken that day, then you're not there for our kids. And it's very clear.
How do you find yourself balancing between like working, taking care, of yourself and like running an election? Like how do you balance it all that?
My mom likes to say that I'm Wonder Woman. She says I can do it all. I try to do as much as I can. Again, I've been helping my community for many years, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, to my own detriment, I would say, because it has impacted and affected my kids, in the sense that they have not received the services that they needed because the board knew that I was behind certain parents. Um, and that's sad, because if any community member has a right to ask questions or to seek help, then the information should be given freely. I don't think that should be something that should be retaliated against. Self-care, I try to squeeze it in where I can. I am a working mom, so I do work a full-time job. Again, in the same vein as I care for the kids, I also work in a human resources position. So I am the human resource person that puts the human in human resources. So I do that job, again, helping my employees and making sure that their mental health and well-being is first and foremost. So that just speaks to the type of person and character that I am, to be giving of myself selflessly, which I do quite a lot. But I get the joy in the return when somebody says that they got the information they needed and they got services for their kids, or the employee that I help at work that says, thank you for helping me out and getting me the resources I needed to get myself on my own 2 feet when they were having a rough patch. And I try to self-care as much as I can. I have a very loving family. My boys that are always asking me if I'm okay and if I ate, and my husband, who's been amazing to be next to me and to give me all of the support. My husband has never told me no to an opportunity. He's always stood behind every challenge that I've decided to undertake. So being married to him for 18 years, God love him and God give him a trophy for that. But into many more years to come. He's very much an advocate of me continuing to help people, knowing that I take a little piece away from my family, but also understanding that there's a lot that needs to go into helping this community, and that I'm not going to stop because I was once that person seeking for information, and I just want to pay it forward and make sure that everybody else is taken care of, or anyone else that asks or needs help.
Okay. So since you just gave us a rundown of your family history, is there anything else you want to let the community know about you and who you are and what you bring to the table?
Well, my name is Maria Lorenz. I've been in this community now for over 15 years since I moved from New York City to come here. I have a double master's degree, so I am highly educated. One of my degrees is in human resource management, and my other degree is in child advocacy from the University of Montclair State University. I also used to be a CASA advocate. For a while, I did that work. And I've always collaborated with anyone who's wanted to collaborate with me about informing the community and getting the word out when it comes to special education or whatever the issue may be to help. So I am running for Board of Ed. I hope that I have your trust. I hope that I have everyone's vote, hopefully at the poll. And I'm looking to better the school community for all of us and to make an impact. I don't have any special interests. I don't work for City Hall. I don't work for the Board of Ed. I don't have family or pets or anyone that's being employed by the Board of Ed. So I think I am a very independent voice. I'm your voice, and I would want to serve as your voice for years to come. Thank you for your trust and your time.
Thank you, Maria, for taking the time tonight to join us and to speak to the community at large. We appreciate the time. I just want to emphasize to everyone watching that we are not endorsing any candidate. This forum is strictly just for informational purposes. Please do your due diligence and research all the candidates on the ballot and use your best judgment. That local elections matter every year, but especially this year. Some important dates to remember for the 2025 election season. The deadline to apply for your vote by mail ballot via the Postal Service is October 28th. The deadline to apply for a vote by mail ballot at the Board of Elections office is November 3rd by 3 p.m. You may also choose to participate in early voting starting October 25th until November 2nd. And I think the locations, I know they have a location here at Kean University. And I think the other one is somewhere downtown, if I'm not mistaken. We do have it posted, or we will have it posted on our Elizabeth Parents and Students Care page. But you can also go to the unioncountyvotes.com for all the early voting locations there. And please, please, please do not forget Election Day is November the 4th. If you have any questions about where to go, you can also look that up on UC Votes on their website, or reach out to us, Elizabeth Parents and Students Care, and we can also point you in the right direction. But it is very important, please, that you come out and vote. A lot of times people get upset that their person didn't win, but then they haven't come out to vote. So every elections have been won or lost by just a handful of votes, and especially when you're talking about local elections, every vote matters. So please make sure you go out and vote November the 4th. I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank my co-host and fellow board member, Ricky Castaneda, for helping put this together. And everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.